And hello again, boys and girls. Welcome back to the channel. It's of course your host Marley Startled, and today we're going to be taking a look at Warhammer 40k Darktide, a horde shooter which is much like in the vein of sort of Back 4 Blood or Left 4 Dead, where in the 40k universe where you play of 1 to 4 classes, the of course sharpshooter as demonstrated here, this lovely fellow, the Psyker, the Ogren, which is your tank fellow, your Psyker's more your assassin sort of fellow, and of course the Preacher, which is your sort of aggro sort of character. In this sort of game, you work as part of the Inquisition into a hive city, conducting missions much in the vein of Vermintide 2, but of course in the 40k universe. I've been very much enjoying the game. I've had some performance issues and some connection issues, but altogether I find it really enjoyable. I also find that the design mentality of the developers is hopefully going to prevent the toxicity we see in other horde shooter communities. If you've played horde shooters, you know what I'm talking about. Left 4 Dead 2, you do the wrong thing, you get banned. You do the thing that's not meta, you get banned. You get kicked. You get kicked by the hot lobby if you don't get enough special kills, etc., etc., etc. Now the developers here haven't put a scoreboard in. The matches are not checkpoint based. And of course, as the community dies down and the pubbers begin to leave, and you end up with a more finite community, it's less difficult to find out if an individual is underperforming or overperforming without it being obvious in the game itself. And that means that, of course, if you're new to the game or not used to the game, it will hopefully reduce that level of late game, late sort of development cycle, play style toxicity. I've been playing sort of all 4 classes. I've played a bit of Yogun, which is your tank, which is sort of to absorb the hits and knock down and stagger enemies, which is enjoyable, but I feel was a bit irritating having to constantly knock down enemy troops or knock down a horde and not be able to kill them. You have your Psyker, which is sort of your assassin class, which has a good assassination weapons, and of course the Psyblast, which is very good, but I feel gets overshadowed by the Sharpshooter. Your Sharpshooter is both your horde clearer and your ranged, which I really like. The late game Sharpshooter is very overpowered, as you're going to see soon. And of course your feature is again your aggro melee sort of character. So each character does sort of complement each other, and I believe later on in the game cycle they are going to introduce subclasses. Now I quite liked Vermintide, or Vermintide 2, but the thing I didn't like about it was the drip feeding of content. Now, it's a bit different this game, where it's not so much more based on skill, but more based on sort of weapon. But it is to an extent based on skill, but as you go up, you get gears of weapons or weapon quality that can be improved via certain crafts and that sort of thing, that eventually really help you perform on a high difficulty. Sometimes I feel that the high difficulties are more based off a gear limitation rather than a skill limitation, and of course the better gear you have, which you buy at the shop, the easier the game gets for you. Of course you have to get lucky and hope you get an RNG weapon you like, but I really enjoy my setup, the of course power sword for hordes and the bolter for shooting down specials. Anyway, I'm just going to show you the best bits of the things I enjoy about it. So far I am really enjoying the game, and it's just been a nice casual foray into the sort of horde shooters again. It's been a while since we had any decent horde shooters. Back 4 Blood was not a decent horde shooter. It was, as you saw that like 8-minute video of Back 4 Blood I played like a year ago. I did not enjoy Back 4 Blood, but let's see how it goes, and we'll show off my best parts of the class. There's just something really satisfying about playing as certain classes and damage you can do. I've been quite lucky on the gear for the Sharpshooter, which has really allowed me to sort of really perform on some of the difficulties. I haven't really gone to the high difficulties yet because I want to keep on gear grinding and upgrading the weapons I have, but unless I find a better power sword or a better bolter, I don't think I'm going to be changing my Sharpshooter specs anytime soon. Of course, each class has its own feats which you unlock as you level up, which give you certain bonuses to certain playstyles. So the Sharpshooter gets bonuses to toughness if he can shoot down specials and gets grenades and things like that. He gets reload bonuses for shooting down specials at high levels, and he gets a perk that allows him to draw less aggro when stationary, which is really powerful. So here we have the game. Of course, my favourite sword because it just goes through hordes and armoured troops, and the bolt, which is lovely. I love the bolter. I can't dispute the bolter, but I feel like the bolter only really works in the sharpshooter class because the recoil was very difficult to control unless you are using a special ability, which the sharpshooter has. Which, of course, each character has its own special abilities. I think the Ogrin has a charge, the Preacher has a charge, and the Psyche has a constant brain burst. So we demonstrate it. Oh, there's no one there to shoot, it's just a horde. Alright, fine.
That's a clean kill.
Is there something really satisfying about this force sword? It just goes through enemies. There we are. That's sort of the gimmick of the sharpshooter. He is your special killer at lane. And of course he also deals with naughty long range shooters, which can be quite difficult on high difficulties to deal with the higher level shooters. Go away. Now, if I'm playing badly, I'm going to blame the fact I'm talking while playing. Like now. But I haven't had too much issues in terms of toxicity in the game so far. Touch wood, that most players are either still to learn in the game, and of course it's still in the beta. I'm glad they're not doing a wipe though. I was a bit worried if I just grind that to get a bit of a wipe going on. But fortunately for me, touch wood, I don't think the fat shark is going to do any grinding, any wiping, not grinding. But I think it will have replayability in terms of the gear grind. As you progress, you want to get into better gear. Yeah, so my job is really to knock out the specials. And occasionally wade in to kill the horde. Of course, you can also fight with the range as well. Can't believe I missed. And because I've got that ability, that means I don't draw aggro. It's much easier for me to deal with these guys. Who is hitting me? Oh. Really? Quite an easy malice run. Some of the malice runs can be disgustingly unforgivable. I don't know if this one's got horde mode enabled, but or endless horde mode, which can be a pain. Endless least constant specials. You get your different specials. You got your dog, which sort of acts as your hunter. You've got the gunners that act as like your suppression, and of course you've got the big bosses, the tank, which is like your plague ogrin and the beast of Nurgle. And of course you've also got the rages and different variants of it, such as the armored rage and so on. And hear this horde sound. That soundtrack is really good, especially the hacking. It's got like this weird techno, this weird sort of techno hidden choir going on. No, I would have dealt with the horde on the other side, but hey ho. But a four-sword probably shouldn't be the in the sharpshooter's repertoire. I think it should be the creature's sort of weapon of choice, which is more to do with horde. But that I feel like the ranger has both the best ranged weapons and the best melee for horde clearance, makes it very, very powerful. Of course, it doesn't get much toughness for melee itself, but the fact you can just knock down swathes of hordes without any sort of significant hassle is amazing compared to other groups. Although the Ogren's pretty good at tanking. I just feel like the problem with the Ogren's got great tanking but very bad DPS.
Headhunting!
Okay, I gotta change weapon. I gotta get out of here. And I will do the hacking mini game because I don't draw aggro. Unless I think it's a special. Let's see if I can get it. Hello, I can't. The only thing is, if you're not getting supported by your team, you can get easily knocked out by one or two. You can get your aim can be knocked out by sort of the one rogue hitter. Damn it. I got greedy. Yet wall hacks with that ability. So what I was doing there is to see if any specials were spawning. My 360 turn. Just the fact that I can one-hit kill hordes makes this weapon so powerful. It's a good sort of tactic of hitting one or two hits, dodging and reactivating special abilities. Not my best game, I am taking too much damage. Normally I'm much better. You try talking while dealing with board at the same time, it's very difficult to do.
Never thought I'd be redirecting trains from a marketplace.
It's no easy matter splicing into a transit hub system. Subverting signal relays is faster and simpler.
So this is where I can really do a lot of damage with the bolter. Pity I can't hit his special place. In fact, I don't really need to. You can see the damage I'm inflicting. That's using the special ability as well, which of course controls the recoil, as well as giving me bonus damage for ranged combat.
Maybe pride in this piece of engineering was the first step towards sin.
Ranger!
Yes!
Dead Ranger!
Ranger! Reaper slain, my kindred!
So this is your crafting materials, which you use to upgrade your weapons.
Traitor! Traitor's dead! Traitor!
Major's dead and gone.
I just shoot into my... If you're going to get in the way, then that's your own fault. I don't think I do too much damage with friendly fire. Oh, this is so satisfying. Do I deal with
Last
the
year
sniper?
220 combat stunts.
No idea what the sniper is. Oh, you gotta kill them. Sometimes it feels like a bit of a competition with the psyker to see if you can get the kills before the psyker does.
I had a mate end up in a place like this. Didn't come back out again.
The Imperium prospers on the blood of those sacrificed in its name.
Where is...
Give me some damage.
Oh, he's got it.
Medicaid station.
Getting a lot of hits. Normally I don't get hit much. I'm just trying to get the even montage hits to make myself look good.
Headhunting. Fill your pouches, soldier. Ammo. Talk straight. One for fire.
Skulls for the golden throne!
This is what I mean
Tongue flavor.
with the Volta.
Here going this way.
But because it's a mostly 1 or 2 hit kill on this difficulty, I try and treat it like a sort of a rifle rather than an actual sort of more automatic.
Precision fire.
Highly recommend the low aggro because it allows you to shoot out in the open. And it means you can get the aim off on these ranged units without any issues. If you don't have the aggro, then everyone will start shooting at you and it can be rather irritating.
Time to heal up, kindred!
Engaging priority target.
I'll take that. Generally speaking, I've never had issues fighting over ammo. Once people sort of realise what you're doing by getting these massive special calls, they sort of leave you alone for this ammo. Oh no. Saved by the team. This is a pretty good team. Those bombers are an absolute nightmare. Those pox bombers, they can kill you instantly. I've had like one game where we were doing really well and a pox bomber came and we just ended the run for us. So 2 came at the same time, around the corner. You can tell it's a fairly good team because I don't need to be watching where they're going to make sure they don't leave you rogue horde or rogue water to screw you up.
Tips a balance of power in this sector. That's the real reason we're here.
Even if we save them, it's hold it ground.
Time bomb is gone. Get across the station.
And of course if you do panic you can just hold down the right trigger. I think you get these at a pretty high level as well, they force up, and sometimes it feels like it's a lower levels you don't really see the benefits or skills of each class until you really go up to like level 15 when they get less class special weapons. And then you start saying, okay, this is how they're supposed to be played, this is their best weapons.
Sickening! Engaging!
this is where the hunter is supposed to, well, the shop is supposed to shine.
Big and easy.
Malice is pretty easy when it's not endless horde mode, I'll be honest with you. I'm so used to constant endless horde mode for Malice, it's disgusting. I tried going back to play the Preacher, but this weapon's just so good. I couldn't bring myself to do so.
I will not lose control. I will not.
Just take. Finding ammo again.
I need to refill you.
A healing
It
station.
melts through armor and its special ability as well. I suspect they are going to nerf my baby. I don't think I even took that much damage. This is also a fairly good system. It's underrated, but it's got the lore of a mechanic like sort of what do you call it, a Vorg in it or whatever it is.
The mutants
From
know.
40k, so after, I think if you're a sort of criminal, you can get reused as a half human cyborg and use the machinery. It depends on what sort of cult you're in. And of course, instead of like having 4 health kits, you've got 4 charges, 1 charge per person, which is really good. The meta to dealing with this fellow, the boss, is literally everyone to gang up on him, because Vayne doesn't do anything. There's a sniper. Oh, he's hiding in the wall. Sadly, we didn't kill him before the horde took over. Again, it's good we can keep RNG and how it works for you. You can get dabbed on by a horde and then bullied by special. Come on now, guys. Oh, damn. Oh, he should go down, and then we just have to deal with the horde, and we should be pretty good. I think they're doing more frequent special spawns dealing with this boss. Sometimes this boss can be an absolute ease to destroy because no special spawn and it's just basic horde. But other times it can be an absolute nightmare. But that was a pretty fun Malice run. I quite liked that. I quite enjoyed it. But you can see late level sort of late game sharpshooter is a pretty MVP weapon of mass destruction. I recommend going to Malice as soon as you've got the gear to do so. It's really a gear-based game. So I think I went to Malice at level 15 as a sharpshooter, and simply because the amount of XP and the amount of money you get is significantly higher than if you were to do the later difficulties. This is your normal difficulty. This is how the game's supposed to really be played. The early difficulties before those two are pretty sort of just allow you to level up and get good gear, and the levels afterwards are more of a challenge. It's more based on skill, but it's also based on how the team plays. And again, I feel like if you get a really good bit of gear, you can really dominate even on the high difficulties. So if you are struggling in the high difficulties, probably not just because you're bad at the game, it's just because your skill is your equipment is not a high enough level. But So far, it's been a pretty enjoyable game. I'm really looking forward to full release to see the other missions. I'll just do a little show and tell of the different equipment and have a little discussion about it. So, of course, you've got your assault chainsaws, which is more your special killers, and your one target DPS. You've got your auto guns, which I don't really recommend. It's again sort of your accuracy headshot. Again, your combat axes are more sort of single target. The shovel, again, there's no point. Your force sword is better. And then, of course, you've got chain axes and these little curiosities that give you certain bonuses and benefits, such as 18% max health, which helps you augment your skills and abilities. You've also got different cosmetics, so after you upgrade at a certain point and do certain challenges, you get more cosmetics. And over here, you've got your daily challenges, which you unlock after a certain level, which give you sort of credits that can go towards buying limited time acquisitions, such as the Mark 1 Devil Shovel, which I think changes every day, and of course the Power Sword, which if I had 1,720 bonus credits for doing the contracts, I would definitely get, but sadly not. Of course, over on the far right, you have your crafting, which isn't fully unlocked yet in the beta, but you can select equipment that you really like and then of course upgrade it if you've got sufficient resources. So I think with this weapon here, my force sword, I initially only had +3 melee crit hit chance, but then the second consecration gave me +8% melee hit charge and super rend, so 2 rending, which destroys armor on energized hit, which I always do. So this weapon just became ungodly powerful. And of course you can upgrade, say, the laser guns and the bolters. Sometimes I wouldn't trust the stats here because this says this is better, but generally speaking I've enjoyed this bolt gun better because of course that special ability at +1 rendering just melts enemy targets, especially as the sharpshooter. And I suspect combining lessons and refining will eventually come out later on. But altogether, a pretty fun experience. I really enjoyed grinding. I really enjoyed the game. I suspect it will get a bit repetitive, but you do have a gameplay loop play. A gameplay loop is initially leveling up to max level, then of course it's doing the harder difficulties, and then of course it becomes the gear grind to get the best gear. Of course, you've got your different missions. They've just released, or they've just re-released the Hourglass mission. I think they're going to have 12 in total, maybe 13, I'm not sure, when in the base game releases. But of course, each mission takes you to a different area, and the level design is absolutely beautiful. Some levels I enjoy more, and some levels have sort of bonus side objectives you need to complete, such as recover scriptures, and they also have certain environmental hazards. So I think we have an endless horde hazard here, and we have a power outage hazard, which is recent, but not anytime soon. But your early difficulties, in addition to Uprising, is sort of your leveling up to level 15, I would say, level 10. Then your Malice is sort of, that's your medium difficulty to get the gear grind and fully level up. Then Heresy and Damnation really requires more sort of team play. I think it's a good game. The only concern I'll have is that, of course, once you've really grinded and grinded and grinded, you can get bored, and it's going to be based on how much more new content comes out and new missions, which I think Fatshark's quite slow to do. But it's weird because Vermintide, I played that, uninstalled that, and then, of course, when I replayed it, it had all this new content and I got lost in. It's one of those games you keep in your hard drive ready to play the new updates. Altogether, I think it's a really good horde shooter. A lovely universe. I love the setting. I love the sort of grim, dark hive city. I like sometimes seeing other friendly or other sort of militia hanging around in some of the settings, and I do like the whole hive city theme. I think as a horde shooter goes, I think each class has quite unique play styles. You do feel the difference between playing as a Psyker, you do feel the difference playing as a Ogrin in terms of your abilities, and of course in terms of the weapons you have. So if we take a look at changing our operatives, you've of course got the Ogrin, which is again your real heavy hitters. They start with pipes and shovels, and then eventually it culminates into large-scale auto shotguns and shields, which these guys are your tanks. They can take more damage, and although it's enjoyable being the tank, I do feel like I like when I do a cleaving hit, killing like 5 or 6 enemies. What I've generally felt on a low level Ogrin is often it takes 3 or 4 hits just to kill anything, and you're more a disruptions aggro sort of weapon to help the team. I suspect on higher levels, once you get a better equipment, that probably changes. But with the equipment I currently have now, it just feels like I have to hit something 12 times to kill it. Of course, it features your aggro class. These guys really are supposed to jump into the combat. They've got some pretty good cleaving weapons, and they've got a lovely sort of electrical charged thunder hammer, which is really good for single target, and it has fairly slow wind-up sweeps, which do blunt damage, which I quite enjoyed as well. But of course, once you go sharpshooter, force sword, it's very difficult to go anywhere else. And your psyker. I quite like the Psyker initially with the Brain Burst, but again, the best equipment the Psyker gets is its staffs, which it unlocks on the higher sort of levels, level 10, level 15, which means that every early game for the Psyker can be quite tedious, because your best equipment that really shows the class is a bit underwhelming. But altogether, it's been shaping up to be a really fun game. I'm really looking forward to the release, and I won't be streaming it because it is quite intensive on the hardware. I'm surprised I was even able to get this to record. I'll have to check to see if it even has recorded. But as a rule, I would recommend getting it if you liked the Left 4 Dead games, if you like the 40k universe, you like the 4-player sort of co-op horde shooters. I don't think they've got single player right now, but I suspect that it's not really for that sort of thing, that single player sort of gameplay loop. But that's me. I just thought I'd show off a bit of Darktide, show off some of the weapons and what I really enjoyed about the game. And hopefully, if you like that sort of team-based game co-op, and you hopefully aren't looking for the same level of sweat you get, or same level of toxicity in other co-op shooters, then hopefully Darktide will be it. But I don't know yet. I don't know what they intend to do about the scoreboard system. I know there are vocal members of the community who demand the scoreboard system to quote-unquote see how they are performing compared to everyone else, and certainly not use it as a kick tool. But even then, because the matches are so short and the missions are so linear with a no checkpoint system, I think that you're not going to get the same toxicity. Maybe once the meta weapons start becoming more prevalent, then perhaps you'll see more like, oh, you're not using the force or vote kick. But I highly doubt it, because each level is pretty short if you know what you're doing and you're pretty good at the game. But altogether, I think it's shaping up to be a very good game, and I'm looking forward to the full release, and I highly recommend it. But I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to Christmas, and if not, then sorry to hear about that. But that's all. Have a good one. Adieu.